Fear is one of the most fundamental and primal emotions experienced by humans and many animals alike. At its core, fear is a natural emotional response to a perceived threat or danger. This reaction is deeply rooted in our biology and psychology, serving as an essential mechanism for survival throughout the course of evolution. From the moment a potential danger is sensed, fear triggers a cascade of changes in the body and mind designed to protect us. These changes prepare us to react quickly, either by confronting the threat fight or avoiding it flight. This reaction, known as the fight or flight response, involves the activation of the sympathetic nervous system, which floods the body with adrenaline and other stress hormones. These chemicals increase heart rate, sharpen vision and hearing, and redirect blood flow to muscles, all helping us to respond rapidly and effectively. Because of this, fear plays a critical role in survival. Early humans who experienced fear and acted on it were more likely to avoid dangers like predators, natural disasters, or other threats in their environment. Without fear, they might have taken reckless risks that could have led to injury or death. In this way, fear has been naturally selected as an important emotional response that helps protect individuals and the species as a whole. However, fear is not limited to immediate physical threats. In the complex world humans live in today, fear has evolved to include psychological and social dimensions. For example, people may experience fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of public speaking, or fear of the unknown. These fears often do not involve immediate physical danger but can feel just as intense. They arise from perceived threats to our self-esteem, social standing, or sense of security. Because fear is natural, it is also universal. Every culture, age group, and individual experiences fear in some form. It's an emotion that connects us all and reminds us of our shared vulnerabilities. While fear can be uncomfortable or even paralyzing at times, it also signals that something matters to us, whether it's our safety, our relationships, or our goals. Importantly, fear is not inherently negative. While it can sometimes be overwhelming, irrational, or limiting, it can also be a valuable guide. Fear alerts us to risks we might otherwise overlook and pushes us to prepare or act cautiously. When understood and managed well, fear can motivate growth, resilience, and courage. In summary, fear is a natural emotional response rooted in our biology and psychology, designed to keep us safe from harm. It exists not only to protect our physical bodies, but also to help us navigate complex social and emotional challenges. Recognizing fear as a natural and necessary emotion is the first step toward learning how to respond to it effectively, using it as a tool for survival and personal development rather than a source of limitation. Fear is not just a feeling in the mind, it is an experience that involves the entire body. When we encounter something frightening or threatening, our body reacts almost instantly with a complex set of physiological changes designed to prepare us to survive. These changes are automatic and happen without conscious thought, reflecting how deeply fear is wired into our biology. The moment the brain detects a threat, whether it's a growling dog, a looming deadline, or even just the thought of public speaking, it sends a rapid signal to the hypothalamus, a small region deep in the brain responsible for controlling the autonomic nervous system. This initiates the fight or flight response, an evolutionary survival mechanism that prepares the body to respond to danger. One of the first changes is the release of stress hormones, primarily adrenaline, also called epinephrine and noradrenaline. These hormones flood the bloodstream, causing the heart to beat faster and stronger. This increase in heart rate pumps more oxygenated blood to the muscles, giving them the energy needed for rapid action, whether to fight or run away. At the same time, breathing becomes faster and shallower to increase oxygen intake, fueling the muscles and brain for heightened alertness. Along with these changes, blood flow is redirected away from non-essential functions like digestion and sent to vital muscle groups and organs necessary for immediate survival. This shift can make you feel tense or jittery and may even cause a dry mouth or butterflies in your stomach. Your pupils dilate during fear to allow more light into the eyes, improving vision so you can better detect the threat. Your hearing also sharpens and your senses become more acute overall. This heightened sensory awareness helps you quickly assess the situation and decide the best course of action. Another physiological effect is the tightening of muscles, which prepares your body to move quickly. You might notice your hands clenching or your body becoming rigid. These are signs that your muscles are primed for action. While these changes can be life-saving in the face of immediate danger, they also have effects that last beyond the moment of fear. After the threat passes, the body's parasympathetic nervous system works to calm everything down and return the body to a state of balance, called homeostasis. However, if fear or stress is chronic or persistent, these physiological changes can lead to health problems such as high blood pressure, anxiety disorders, or weakened immune function. It's important to understand that these physiological reactions to fear are universal and automatic. They show just how closely linked our emotions and bodily functions are. Fear physically prepares us to deal with threats, reinforcing its role as a protective mechanism. However, because these responses can be triggered by both real and imagined dangers, learning to recognize and manage fear is essential to prevent unnecessary distress or health issues. In conclusion, fear triggers a powerful chain of physiological changes designed to protect us by preparing the body for quick action. These changes include increased heart rate, faster breathing, muscle tension, and sharpened senses. By understanding these bodily responses, we can better appreciate how fear functions not just as an emotion, but as a vital survival tool embedded in our very biology. Fear is a complex emotion that affects us on multiple levels, including both physical and psychological aspects. While we often think of fear as a reaction to something physically dangerous, like a threatening animal or an accident, fear also exists deeply within our minds, influencing our thoughts, behaviors, and emotions in ways that are not always immediately visible. Physical fear is the response triggered by a direct and tangible threat to our bodily safety. For example, imagine walking alone at night and suddenly hearing footsteps behind you. Your body reacts instantly, your heart races, your muscles tense, your breathing quickens. This type of fear prepares you to face a potential danger by activating the body's fight or flight response, increasing your chances of survival. Physical fear is closely tied to the sensory systems. It arises from stimuli that your eyes, ears, or other senses detect and interpret as threatening. On the other hand, psychological fear involves threats that may not be physical, but still feel very real and distressing. These fears often relate to our mind's perception of risk, uncertainty, or potential negative outcomes. For instance, fear of failure, fear of public speaking, or fear of rejection are common psychological fears. They do not pose an immediate threat to your physical well-being, but can have a powerful impact on your mental and emotional state. Psychological fears can create feelings of anxiety, self-doubt, and stress, sometimes causing individuals to avoid situations or opportunities. Psychological fear often stems from anticipation, the mind imagining what could go wrong even if the threat is uncertain or unlikely. This type of fear is shaped by past experiences, learned behaviors, cultural influences, and individual personality traits. For example, a person who has faced criticism or failure may develop a fear of trying new things, while someone raised in a cautious environment might fear taking risks more than others. Importantly, physical and psychological fears are interconnected. Psychological fears can trigger the same physiological responses as physical fears. For example, thinking about a stressful presentation at work can cause your heart to race, your palms to sweat, and your stomach to feel uneasy, symptoms very similar to those caused by a physical threat. Conversely, experiencing physical fear repeatedly can influence psychological well-being. sometimes leading to conditions like post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD) or chronic anxiety. Understanding that fear operates on both physical and psychological levels helps us better manage it. Physical fears often require immediate, practical responses to ensure safety, while psychological fears may need thoughtful reflection, emotional support, or cognitive strategies to address the underlying concerns. In summary, fear is not just about what threatens our bodies. It also encompasses what challenges our minds. Both physical and psychological fears serve important roles in alerting us to danger and helping us prepare or protect ourselves. Recognizing these two dimensions allows us to approach fear more holistically, using both practical action and mental resilience to face and overcome it. Fear is not just a random feeling. It is a deeply rooted evolutionary mechanism that has been shaped by millions of years of natural selection. Throughout the long history of life on Earth, fear has played a crucial role in helping organisms survive and pass on their genes. In essence, fear is an evolutionary adaptation that has enabled species, including humans, to avoid danger and increase their chances of survival. From the simplest creatures to complex mammals, fear serves as a warning system. It alerts an organism to potential threats in the environment, triggering behaviors that enhance survival. For example, a small prey animal detecting the scent or movement of a predator will feel fear, causing it to freeze, hide, or flee. This reaction can mean the difference between life and death. Over generations, those individuals who responded effectively to danger were more likely to survive and reproduce, passing on their fearful instincts to their offspring. In humans, fear is embedded in our brain's ancient structures, especially the amygdala, which acts as the brain's alarm system. The amygdala rapidly processes sensory information and triggers fear responses even before the conscious mind fully understands what is happening. This speed is vital. It allows for immediate reactions to threats, such as jumping away from a snake or ducking to avoid falling debris. The evolutionary nature of fear also explains why some fears are nearly universal and appear early in life. For instance, fear of loud noises, sudden movements, heights, or snakes is common across cultures and often seen even in very young children. These fears likely evolved because these stimuli historically represented real dangers. Our ancestors who quickly learned to avoid such threats had better survival outcomes. However, evolution also means that fear can sometimes be mismatched to modern environment. Our brains developed in a world where dangers were mostly physical and immediate: predators, harsh weather, or scarcity of food. Today, many fears are triggered by abstract or social threats, such as fear of failure, social rejection, or financial insecurity. While these fears may not pose immediate physical danger, they tap into the same ancient brain systems that evolved to protect us. This can lead to excessive anxiety or stress in situations where the original survival value of fear no longer applies directly. Moreover, fear's evolutionary purpose is not only to protect but also to teach and prepare. Early experiences of fear help individuals learn what to avoid and how to respond to dangers. Fear also promotes social bonding and cooperation. For example, warning others about threats increases group survival. In summary, fear is a fundamental evolutionary tool shaped by millions of years of natural selection. It is a protective mechanism that helped our ancestors survive by alerting them to danger and triggering rapid responses. Though the world we live in has changed dramatically, the evolutionary roots of fear remain embedded in our biology. Understanding fear's evolutionary origins helps us appreciate its importance and also recognize when it might be acting beyond its original purpose, guiding us to manage fear wisely in the modern world. Fear is a powerful emotion, and its impact on our lives can go in two very different directions. It can either limit us or motivate us. How fear affects us depends largely on how we respond to it and the context in which it arises. On one hand, fear can be a limiting force. When fear becomes overwhelming or irrational, it can prevent us from taking important actions, trying new experiences, or pursuing our goals. For example, fear of failure may stop someone from applying for a dream job, starting a new business, or even speaking up in a meeting. Fear of rejection might cause people to avoid building relationships or sharing their true feelings. This kind of fear acts like an invisible barrier, keeping us stuck in our comfort zones and preventing personal growth. It can reduce our confidence, create anxiety, and diminish our overall well-being. When fear limits us, it often arises from negative beliefs about what might happen if we take risks. The mind focuses on the worst case scenarios, amplifying doubts and worries. This can lead to procrastination, avoidance, or even paralysis, where we feel unable to move forward. In this way, fear acts as a psychological brake, keeping us safe but also restricting our potential. On the other hand, fear can also be a powerful motivator. When channeled constructively, fear can push us to prepare better, work harder, and take calculated risks. For instance, fear of failure can encourage someone to study more thoroughly for an exam or practice more before a presentation. Fear of loss might motivate a person to improve their health or strengthen their relationships. In this way, fear can act as an energizing force that sharpens focus and drives action. Motivating fear is often rooted in a realistic awareness of challenges combined with a willingness to face uncertainty. Instead of letting fear dictate avoidance, people use it as a signal to get ready, adapt, and grow. Fear becomes a source of courage, not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. This mindset can lead to breakthroughs, new opportunities, and greater resilience. Moreover, many successful people talk about how fear has played a role in their journeys. They acknowledge feeling fear but use it as fuel rather than a barrier. For example, athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, and leaders often describe fear as a companion that reminds them of what's at stake and pushes them to excel. In summary, fear is a double-edged sword. It can either limit us by holding us back with anxiety and avoidance, or it can motivate us by inspiring preparation, focus, and courage. The difference lies in how we interpret and respond to fear. By recognizing fear as a natural emotion that signals importance rather than just danger, we can choose to use it as a catalyst for growth instead of a roadblock. Understanding this dual nature of fear empowers us to face our fears more consciously and turn what could be a weakness into one of our greatest strengths. Fear is a powerful and natural emotion, but its impact on our lives depends largely on how well we understand and manage it. To live a balanced, fulfilling life, it's important not only to recognize what fear is, but also to learn how to work with it instead of being controlled by it. Understanding fear begins with recognizing that fear is a normal response to perceived threats. It's an emotion designed to protect us, signaling when something might harm our body, mind, or sense of security. However, fear is not always a reflection of immediate or real danger. Sometimes it is triggered by imagined threats, past experiences, or deeply ingrained beliefs. By identifying the source of our fear, whether it's physical, psychological, or social, we can begin to approach it more objectively. Awareness is the first step in managing fear. This means paying attention to the feelings, thoughts, and physical sensations that arise when we experience fear. Many people try to ignore or suppress fear, but doing so often allows it to grow and become more overwhelming. Instead, acknowledging fear without judgment helps reduce its power. This can be as simple as noticing your heartbeat speeding up, recognizing anxious thoughts, or admitting to yourself that you are scared. Once we understand our fear, we can use strategies to manage it effectively. One important approach is breathing and relaxation techniques. Since fear triggers the body's fight or flight response, slowing down the breath and consciously relaxing muscles can help calm the nervous system. Practices such as deep breathing, meditation, or progressive muscle relaxation create a physical sense of safety and reduce the intensity of fear. Another key strategy is cognitive reframing, which involves changing how we think about fear and the situation causing it. Instead of viewing fear as purely negative or dangerous, we can reframe it as a signal of something important that requires attention. We can challenge unrealistic fears by asking ourselves questions like, what's the evidence that this fear is true? Or what's the worst that could really happen, and how could I handle it? This process helps reduce catastrophic thinking and promotes a more balanced perspective. Exposure is also a powerful method for managing fear. Gradually facing feared situations or thought, starting with less intimidating challenges and slowly working up, can build confidence and reduce anxiety. This helps the brain learn that the feared object or event is not as threatening as it seems, weakening fear's hold over time. Importantly, managing fear also means seeking support when needed. Talking to trusted friends, family, or professionals can provide reassurance and guidance. Sometimes, fears become so intense or persistent that professional help, such as therapy, is necessary. Therapists can provide tools and structured approaches to help people overcome debilitating fears and anxieties. In summary, understanding and managing fear involves recognizing it as a natural and meaningful emotion, becoming aware of its effects on body and mind, and applying practical strategies to reduce its negative impact. By learning to work with fear rather than against it, we can transform it from a source of limitation into a catalyst for growth, courage, and resilience.